Some student athletes seem destined to be Whitworth Pirates. Such was the case with Natalie Turner. Maybe it was because her older sister Marjorie was already part of the team. Maybe it was because by the time she arrived on campus, she had already become an active part of the team's culture. Or maybe it was simply set in the stars that she would forever change the impact of Whitworth swimming within the Northwest Conference. Natalie arrived at Whitworth from South Lake Tahoe, where she had been a Nevada state champion. From 2007 through 2010, Natalie dominated the Northwest Conference like no women's swimmer before or since. She competed in 12 individual events at the NWC Championships over the course of her career. She won 12 times. She set conference records almost every time she competed. She was also part of 13 conference championship relays, nearly always swimming the anchor leg and often bringing the Pirates from behind. Natalie was the main reason Whitworth ended Puget Sound's 11-year run of Northwest Conference titles in 2008. Ashley LeCoq, Natalie's teammate and roommate for 2 seasons, recalls that Natalie had an internal drive to succeed that surpassed nearly everyone. Ashley says Natalie had very few people who could push her in practice or in races. She was simply that much better than everyone else. She had to push herself. Very often, the further ahead she got, the harder she pushed herself. Whitworth head coach Steve Schott echoed those sentiments. He said Natalie was capable of working at a really high level for long periods of time. She wasn't just a talented athlete with a good feel for the water, she was determined to continue to get better. Natalie ended her career as a 4-time Northwest Conference Women's Swimmer of the Year. She still holds NWC records in the 200, 500, and 1650-yard freestyles. No swimmer since has come close to touching those marks. She also led Whitworth's women to NWC team titles in 2008 and in 2010. Despite the fact that she was so often so far in front of her competitors and teammates, Natalie never let that get in the way of building relationships with both. Her sister Jory remembers, the race was always in the pool, it never got carried onto the pool deck. Natalie was never too good to talk to anybody, no matter who they were. She never saw herself as that kind of person. Steve Schott remembers that Natalie was never afraid to speak the truth, whether it was to her teammates or her coaches. Schott says Natalie was definitely a leader in her own unique way. There was never a question about where you stood with Natalie. Ashley LeCoq recalls, I was afraid of Natalie at first. She was so good and had such a strong personality, but then I got to know how supportive and involved she was with her teammates. She was very motivating to us in her own way, and I saw how positive and uplifting she was to those around her. Natalie's success carried on from the Northwest Conference to the national level. Over the course of her 4 seasons, Natalie qualified to compete in the NCAA Division III Swimming and Diving Championships in the maximum number of 12 events, 3 each season. She was an All-American 10 times and an honorable mention All-American twice. She is the only women's swimmer in Northwest Conference history to score points in all 12 of her individual events. No Whitworth swimmer, man or woman, has scored as many points at the NCAA Championships as Natalie Turner. She became the first women's swimmer in the history of the conference to break 5 minutes in the 500 freestyle and to break 17 minutes in the 1650 freestyle. She came within a couple tenths of a second of being the first to break 150 in the 200 freestyle. Schott continues to marvel at her accomplishments. He says Natalie was remarkably consistent. At an age when many swimmers plateau, she improved every year and always found a way to get better. She always came into a meet ready to race, and there were very few subpar performances for Natalie throughout her 4 years. Following graduation, Natalie taught for a year in South Korea. She then returned to the Northwest and became a social worker, eventually getting into coaching. She was the coach of the Spokane Waves aquatic team for several years and has now been hired to develop the brand new collegiate program at George Fox University in Newberg, Oregon. Last year, she married Michael Whitworth, himself a Whitworth record setter and All-American. Ladies and gentlemen, for her singular accomplishments as a swimming champion and All-American, for her ability to impact the accomplishments of those around her, and for her commitment to developing the next generation of young competitors. The Whitworth Heritage Gallery Selection Committee is proud to present for induction today, Natalie Turner.